Here's the thing. Hey. Do I have good news for me? You see this down here? Right. Beep, 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 beep. Look at that. That's right. Over 2 freaking years, man. Over 2 years of no income on this channel. And we're back, baby. The grift is on. We are grifting. It is full on grift from here on out. Y'all don't even know. Like I'm grifting you right now. Can you feel it? You feel it, don't you? You know I'm grifting you. Yeah. Grifting the shit out of you. But no, yeah, we grifting, baby. YouTube finally decided to do the right thing and approve me for YouTube partnership again. For those unaware, it was around, I think, fucking November of 2022. Suddenly they just, boop, you're not YouTube partner anymore. You can't monetize your channel at all. You know, not that I was like, it wasn't my income or anything. I'd got to the point where I was making about $200 a month that I could count on, you know, through channel memberships, and super chats and whatnot. So with that in mind, I'd like to encourage anybody who was a channel member prior to, and just suddenly wasn't because they not through any choice of their own. You are now very much encouraged to become one again. The only difference being that now there's only one tier just to simplify things. $4.99. Everybody gets everything. $4.99. If you want to do a different thing, a different level of support, you can go over to Patreon and do that. You can also go to Buy Me a Coffee. All those links are in the description. If you want to check those out. But yeah, so here we are. We're a real boy again. We're a real monetized boy. It's we live as fuck, baby. So yeah, thank you for the $5 super chat, man. That's really feels fucking excellent to be back in the grift again. We grifting, baby.
I see this as an absolute win.
Oh, somebody please think of the children!
The only way that you can really stop this kind of thing is to arouse public opinion. It's very upsetting. It has a bad moral effect.
Forced adversity.
Ask yourself, what's more terrifying, fear or the frightened?
The facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
Bad, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Up yours, woke moralists.
Socialism has spread the shadow of human regimentation over most of the nations of the earth.
And they're pushing identity politics with this. They 100% are.
How do you think homosexuals reveal themselves?
And the shadow is encroaching upon our own liberty.
I think there ought to be a law against them. Tonight I'm going to show you why.
Welcome to the FAP. Nancy used to do that for me. Handsy Nancy, I called her. Oh, and by the way.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy.
Are you sure?
So that was a fucking lie.
Hello. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to my giant head. welcome to my giant head. This is my giant head. And Morgan's giant head.
Wait, my head.
Bob said it sounded kind of smaller.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's much larger than mine and Morgan's put together.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact, without the CGI work we put in, Bob looks like MODOK.
Yeah. It's ironic we call him Bob the old ways whenever we're using just the state-of-the-art CGI.
Yeah, it's like him, we...
as handsome as he is.
But the reason you should...
I did not, in the private chat, I said that the members are colored. They're not. It's not a good term. We're not going to use that. I did not come out right. Okay. I'm not trying to imply the race of any of our channel members, but they're of a different color than you get it. All right. Now
they have highlighted names.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Now that
they have highlighted, yes, we can
gracefully gotten that taken care of. We can move on.
See there, yeah. What we're having here is there's some issues here because for our state of the art Bob CGI graphics, we now have to pay the Disney union dues to the their CGI union. So we really could use the help with the channel memberships and the super chats.
Indeed, as it says at the bottom there, I just need $200. I mean, look. My trip is bought and paid for. I got a flight. I got a pretty decent hotel. I got a rental car. All that stuff's taken care of. I'm going to be able to take my kid out to eat and hang out and stuff like that because I'm going to be in Texas for about 4 days, I think. But I just feel like, in case she wants anything that she maybe isn't expressing ahead of time that she wants, might need a little extra walking around money. And then in my own self-interest, I want to get some fucking barbecue.
Oh,
what I mean? Like, I just got to get some barbecue when I'm there.
There's only one reason to go to Texas. And it's not even to see your kid graduate from whatever they're graduating for.
Convenient thing that it's happening right now, but
right.
Like, the barbecue is in May of every year in Austin. So if you can help out, it's greatly appreciated. The reason here's the actual truth. Here's me being bad at grifting. I've made about $140 since I've been monetized again.
Woo! Let's go.
YouTube doesn't pay out until you hit $200.
Right.
So I need to hit $200 by the 21st. Or I'll have to wait until the next 21st so it would just be cool if I could get to that $200 threshold. If anybody can help me out with that, you won't regret it. Also, I'm going to be giving out omnibuses every month to channel members. I got a bunch of omnibuses. I'm just like, you know what? I'm sitting on these. I'm sure somebody would enjoy these more than me. I need to make some space. So got some X-Men, got some Superman, got some stuff like that. Once a month. So after the first month is complete, we'll do a drawing of all of the channel members, and some lucky member will get an omnibus. Probably of their choosing. I'll probably have like a few of them that you could choose from. So anyway, looks at my own name tag to see what color it is, and speaks in Montgomery Scott from TOS. It's green. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Generally, I did not mean to call you colored people or anything like that. I'm gonna keep digging that grave. I'm sorry.
What's funny is it's in the private chat, right? So like you like
I didn't have to say any of this.
You didn't have to say anything.
No.
So
I didn't have to make my co-hosts regret doing the show with me right at the top of the show. Not at all.
Well, no, never.
Are all the channel members green?
I don't know. I think so. So far. Channel members, where you at? Fucking sound off.
Yeah, if you're a channel member and or if you know what you want to see what color you could be. You could make Dane's talk of colored people true by becoming a channel member and seeing what color it is.
It's not easy. It's not easy being green.
No, it's not.
It's a challenge.
We do have a test that we're going to do here. We're gonna do a test here right at the top, just to get it out of the way, in case there's any. If you're not cringing at the end of this, you're a white nationalist, okay?
Or maybe if you're offended by this, you might be a white nationalist.
That too, yeah. Let me get the appropriate image up here. There we go. And then turn this off, and boom, there we go. Okay.
So we should explain why Dane is Jar Jar Maxing today.
You sure? You shouldn't. I shouldn't just read it first, and then just I feel like that's more fun.
Yeah, that's how everyone's gonna have the Tipper Gore experience here.
But
So,
dramatic reading in the voice of Jar Jar Binks. Then
should
we'll
I
explain.
ask the question?
Did you say a traumatic reading? Because I think that's accurate.
That's accurate. Yeah. Why don't I?
Traumatic.
I'm going to give a dramatic reading of the tweet in question that created this traumatic reading response we're going to get from Dane. Bob's Burner on Twitter asks, @Grok, can you explain what's happening to your replies? Also, pretend you are Jar Jar Binks while doing it.
And Grok, the honestly, the AI that kind of gives me some hope for AI sometimes, being that it was programmed by a fucking Nazi moron and it seems to be smarter than him.
See, what I think it is there's like 2 furries and a trans femme who still work at that company that got bought out just because like they need the insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just code in true things.
Okay. Well, okay, let's see how they did on Jar Jar's thing here. It's been a while here, but
yep. All right.
Misa Grok, oopsie, you used to ask him about the replies. Misa thinks you can mean in big talk about the South Africa, yeah? The white genocide talk is mucho controversial. Some say white farmers getting attacked too much, like 214 attacks a year, and political words like kill the Boer, making it worse. But courts saying in 2025, this genocide talk is not real, just crime, not racial. Farm murders dropping, and both black and white farmers hit, mostly for robbery. Misa sees the debate hot, with Trump helping some farmers move to USA. But South Africa says no persecution. Misa confused by all this chatter, but crime's the big issue, not genocide, methinks. Okie day? That one.
So yes, this is things on twitter.com this week. And if you are wondering
why George Lucas said Jar Jar was the key to everything.
He was the key to everything.
It's the key to everything.
If he doesn't work, then none of this works. And clearly he's worked perfectly. Because everything else is working fucking like a magical clock of some kind. I don't know.
Yep. There's a expression in IT that something is working as expected, which means it's broken and non-functional, but that's what everyone expected to happen. Well, that's some seconds. You can't have those.
Congratulations, you're not a white nationalist.
Yep, you did it. So proud of
Good for you.
I don't know. Who knows?
And however much cringe you are suffering, McLeod, it does not compare to the cringe of Dane having to perform that for all of you monkeys out there.
My skin is sitting next to me right now.
Yeah, you cringe so hard. Well, and after all that work we put into getting your skin back on you after rehearsal.
Right. I mean,
like Dan is really putting his body on the line for this.
I didn't rehearse. I still felt it was pretty good. You know,
Dane, you're supposed to lean in. You know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that was a secondary function of that. Other than to sum up this whole insanity that's happening here, is just like to if you aren't convinced that Jar Jar is a fucking racist caricature, then you should be after that.
You should be, yes.
Recite that. Maybe seeing me would have made it better, but I don't know.
I think having the Jar Jar is perfect. I'm not gonna lie.
So I saw something, David Pakman. I don't care what anybody thinks about David Pakman. You might even agree with you on some cases. That's not the point. He had some messages that are valid, I believe.
Sure.
He's talking about just how none of this shit is supposed to be normal, and we're not supposed to let it become normal. We're not supposed to tune it out, even though it's hard. You do need to develop a healthy way to not to be tuned completely out, but basically that this is how authoritarian governments rise, not by getting everybody on board with what they're doing, but by making a lot of people just stop fucking thinking they can do anything about it.
Right.
And tuning out. And here we are, this anti-immigration administration. Well, they definitely changed their perspective on immigration for a certain people.
Yes. So for those who don't know, the Trump administration has basically across the board put all refugee resettlement programs in the United States on ice. We are not accepting refugees, which is a violation of our treaty obligations, because you're supposed to, we have treaties with other countries about accepting refugees. And the Trump administration is like, nah, fuck that. fuck the law. We don't follow the law. We follow Trump's will.
America first, which is quickly just becoming white people first, which I think anybody knew that's what it meant.
Right. But
yeah, look, they're just big Lethal Weapon 2 fans. That's all.
Diplomatic community.
Yeah. The bad guys from Lethal Weapon 2 are refugees now, and we need to help them.
Even as a kid, those bad guys struck me as incredibly fucking sinister compared to other bad guys. You know,
yeah,
motherfuckers with diplomatic immunity. You know, and then fucking Danny Glover. Like, we all need to be Danny Glover right now, not literally, but in the spirit of Danny Glover at the end, where it's just been revoked. Yeah. So what's the deal with these farmers? It's only white farmers that are being targeted for being white, correct?
No.
Oh.
So here is the short version, and by short I mean it's going to take me a few minutes to explain it, but it is still the short version. It is so after apartheid ended in South Africa, the new government made some concessions as far as like people keeping their land. So a lot of white farmers kept their land. And this did not end the crime problem that has existed in South Africa even before. It turns out that sometimes just a poor country with oppressed people who aren't taken care of, you have crime. You create crime that way. And while the new government did things to remedy some of that, to ensure a peaceful transfer of power, concessions were made to white landowners, particularly in terms of farmers. And when I say farmers, I don't mean people who go out there with equipment and do the farming. I mean people who own farms and hire people to work on their farms. And crime primarily happens, there's a lot of rural crime in South Africa because that's where food is and where expensive equipment that is in demand is.
And just to clarify, a majority of the farmland in South Africa is owned by the white
minority.
White minority that ran the government during apartheid.
Yep.
I thought that cities were the hubs of black people who did the crimes all the time. I thought that was just a universal truth. Is that not?
Guess not.
Because it seems to go counter to that. I'm playing the dumbass here.
You are playing the dumbass here.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty fucking. You know, if that doesn't prove it, then I don't know what else does.
Right.
But it's about conditions. It's not that there is no universality to crime and who commits it. It's all about, you know, what power and what group and what you know, region has the power and what doesn't and stuff like that. It's and so what there is there some kind of like group of black people, black Africans that they're blaming this on? Or is that even anything they're trying to do?
They are blaming and they have for a couple of decades now, blamed, well, within the white community, within a segment of the white community in South Africa, they have blamed the government for not doing enough to fight this banditry problem.
Which is blaming black people. Because the majority of the government in South Africa is black.
Black.
To be clear,
as they said in Lethal Weapon 2, they're black.
The oh yeah, sorry, I took that off because it was covering up my beautiful face the other night.
Pop our names back up there.
So okay. Does it matter that the entirety of this narrative has been fed through like 4chan and Stormfront and
we haven't even gotten that far yet.
Okay.
We are getting there because like at this version of it, at the like we have three sort of groups. We have the farm owners who are predominantly white. We have a predominantly black population and predominantly black government, and there are effectively bandits or robbers who are stealing from these farms. And then you have the government, who is probably not funded enough to do anything about it or much about it to the satisfaction of these farmers. So if we're just looking at that, you can see how if I'm a white farm owner. I have a problem with my government because they're not meeting their social obligations to provide law enforcement to stop people from attacking my employees and stealing my stuff. Because also in this, a lot of people who work on farms have been hurt, though most of those are black. Now we get to 4chan and Stormfront and Lauren Southern and Racist Inc. They have made this a great replacement theory in practice myth that the white government is trying, or that the black government is trying to replace all of the white farmers in South Africa by stealing from them sometimes. And not like it's a problem, but it's not like your farm's not getting knocked over every day.
Yeah.
And so this narrative has gone on in white nationalist spaces, in the European identitarian movement spaces for a couple of decades now.
So I've got here a quote from, well, some quotes. Got a quote from President Trump here, that there's a genocide taking place against white farmers in the country. And,
Nope.
you know, people that know what genocide means say that that's a gross misapplication of the term. And Trump went on to say they're being killed, and we don't want to see people being killed. Come on now, you know.
Yeah, you.
Like half the reason that there's so many fucking people from, you know, the global South trying to get into the U.S. is because they're literally being killed by
Right. You are
you know,
A-OK.
and all kinds of crazy shit. You know, the other part of it is like, you know, climate refuge and stuff like that. But that's also people being killed in some cases.
Being killed, yeah.
So
Like
from Jean-Yves Camus, co-director of the Observatory of Political Radicalism in Paris, said, yes, white farmers are being killed in South Africa. Well, that just means it's true then, right? No. However, there is nothing like a white genocide, and the issue needs to be seen in the broader context of a country plagued by crime and gang activity. Although police statistics are imprecise on the issue, there have been about 50 farm murders per year over the last several years. That's less than 1% of all murders in the country. Murder victimization is far more correlated to class, gender, and location than race. So basically, they're like taking what people know as racial violence here in the U.S. and they're applying it to a country that it's not really the conditions at all.
Right. It is
and they're using those sentiments to you know, bring in rich white people, almost certainly because they're fucking making money from it.
Right. So what you have is a group of 74 white immigrants from South Africa. And I have not yet been able to determine their economic status or what their asylum claims are, just because I don't think that's widely available. That's probably one of those Freedom of Information Act things that some journalist is going to have to do or some legal agency is going to have to do.
But here's the catch. The white minority, the Afrikaners, are descended from the Dutch.
Yep.
And under current international law, they could return to the Netherlands.
Yep.
And be full citizens.
Yep.
But they would not receive any money if they did that.
Right.
If they come to the United States as refugees, they will receive government assistance.
Right.
And if they hold some racist beliefs, I'm sure they wouldn't be very welcomed in general by their Dutch countrymen. That's
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the politics and the racial politics of.
I just feel like it's probably more racist living in Africa than the ones.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that this is a money-making scheme for them. Like,
yeah.
So,
and one that probably doesn't involve anybody selling their land. Because, like, as far as I've been able to find in news stories, there is no stories of white farm owners abandoning their land or selling their land on the cheap.
They must not be too damn scared.
Which, if you're in a situation where you need to be a refugee, you're going to do things like anything you can't take, you're going to try and sell or get rid of. There's none of that information exists out there, which tells me these aren't even the farmers in question. These probably are just white people from South Africa who are racist and want money.
So the situation is that this is an inequality thing. This is what we're going to see over and over again across the world until probably the sun burns out, or we somehow manage to enact socialism. Because this is just the same thing at the root of it all that we're experiencing here. It's about extreme inequality, with approximately 10% of the population that is mostly white owning over 80% of the wealth. And
yeah,
that's, I guess they maybe feel like they don't own enough of it. 80, they want 90%. I don't know. I don't think that's the same rate we have here, right? Like, I think our rate is worse than that.
It's worse than that, yeah.
So they want more American type rates, I think.
They want American level racism.
They're like, we 10% of people and we own 80%. That's kitty numbers. We got to get that shit the U.S. has going on. I guess. I don't know. So yeah, on the first day in office, Trump suspended all refugee admissions to the U.S. Until such time as bringing in new refugees aligns with the interests of the United States. Okay.
Which
this
among the refugees we are already looking at deporting. In some cases, we have refugees from areas affected by drug cartels in South America and Central America. We have refugees from the refugees that were in question in October in the election, that the Haitian refugees that have effectively revitalized a whole city's economy. And I think my favorite group is Afghani refugees that are here because they are wanted by the Taliban government in Afghanistan for being assets of the United States intelligence apparatus and military.
Right. Afghans who helped us win the war on terror to the extent that we won it all in Afghanistan. People who fought on our side, we're sending them back to the people who want them dead.
Right.
Cool. It's I mean, and by the way, there's people that have been deported that probably they almost certainly didn't deserve to be, even by any kind of law that exists or
because there's no due process in any of this.
But then what I've been finding out is that some of these prisons that they're being sent to are never designed to let anyone out.
Yeah.
And that and they're just, their lives are just done. They're done. Those people no longer exist to any, degree that anyone's ever going to be able to fucking know about it anymore. They're probably going to get, raped and killed in prison or something like that. And because they have no idea how to exist in a fucking situation where there's probably some pretty hardened criminals in there.
Yeah, and just so the audience is clear, our normal deportation process before Trump started doing all this was when we send somebody back, we send them back to their country of origin, not to another country.
Right.
Called El Salvador, and not to a prison.
Right.
What Trump's doing right now is essentially just kidnapping people he doesn't like and sending them to a labor camp in another country.
What he's done is he's created Nazi Germany conditions with a little bit of buffer for fucking, benefit of the doubt, reasonable doubt.
In the instances where they haven't been sent to El Salvador, they've been sent to places like Panama, where we have sent migrants or refugees to Panama and a couple other countries that are not from those countries.
Yeah. And a historical reminder here, most of the Nazis' death camps were not in Germany.
In Germany. They
were in
Poland.
Other countries.
Yep.
So this is how the Nazis started too. The fascists always have death camps or labor camps in other territories.
Right.
And they send all of their undesirables there so that at home they can have plausible deniability.
Right. And the plausible deniability is only there for people who want it because it is barely plausible.
Yeah. Well, it's plausible to the people who who know what we're doing but don't want to be reminded of it. They want to live with the illusion that they're not actually involved.
Right. And if there's no actual word that literally represents this, because deportation,
the word is kidnapping.
But does that doesn't convey what's actually happened.
Trafficking is another word.
Trafficking is probably actually the better word.
True.
Because trafficking is what happened, and this fell out of the news so quickly a few years ago. But when Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott were rounding up refugees in Florida and Texas and putting them on planes to New York and DC and Chicago, was human trafficking. Like they trafficked them, they put them on a plane, they lied to them about what was going on, and they just dumped them off in Chicago, most famously outside of Kamala Harris's house in DC where she was staying.
I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. Sorry, I got something I gotta handle. It's all good. I'll be back.
Well, you're back. I'm gonna pull this one up and talk about this guy. Abedo says, I've seen right-wingers upset about the deportations, but only because they're scared of a future Democratic president that might use it on Republicans. I wish we had the Democrats the Republicans thought we had.
I mean, if this is enough to make them question what Trump is doing, I'll take it.
I'll take it, yes. But then it's worried about, like, it's going to come back and blow back on them. Like,
because the Democrats also suck. And it is always worth reminding people that, especially like people on the right, that any power you give to the state because your guy is in power is a power that can be used by Democrats when they get power and will be used by most of them. Obama didn't undo any of the powers that were granted to George W. Bush.
Right.
He kept all of them and he expanded them.
And then Trump expanded them. And then Biden did curtail some of Trump's expansions, but that's almost like a historical oddity.
Yeah. So, I mean, the next time, as hard as it may be to believe right now, one day Trump will not be in power anymore, and the Republicans will not be in power anymore. That could be decades from now, but that day will come. And if the powers they've granted to a Republican president now are still in place, the Democrat will use them.
Yep.
So if that fear is enough to get Republicans now to question what's going on and to do something about it, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's a fundamental good that they're questioning it. It should be questioned, and because yes, it is concerning. Charger's back.
I mean, they may be something enough to scare them, but are they going to make a reasonable choice about that? Because it seems like they don't really do that very often.
Some will, most won't. Like I think in general, most conservatives, at best, don't care.
Yeah.
Often they'll think that they're a real American, that this is not supposed to be used on quote unquote real Americans. Never mind that we've already had several U.S. citizens deported and several U.S. citizens held by ICE.
Yeah.
Who had documentation.
The measure is, are they going to do anything? Not are they going to express their,
right. Will they do anything?
Disapproval or whatever. And if they do something, we welcome them.
This
is a united front moment. We have to.
Most of them don't have any balls to do anything to fight back. However, there's also not really anything to do. We've reached a point when the Republican administration, Trump administration, has realized, they've probably known this to some degree for a long time, but this is the first administration to say, you know what are they going to do if we just don't pay attention to the rules?
Right.
That's everything. It's like it's all been predicated on the idea that we're going to generally play within the bounds of the established law and the rules and stuff like that. And now you've got this regime that says, yeah, but we don't want to. And we know, because we've tested it enough times now, that really, nothing's going to happen. We know because our guy got fucking impeached twice. Nothing happened. We know because he had fucking 90 something charges filed against him and was found guilty on so much shit. And he got elected again. Nothing stopped any of that. So it seems like there aren't really any consequences for the rules that were established. And then, so that's where we're at. And I actually have an article that I'd like to bring up whenever we get to a point that that kind of addresses this, that our Constitution is at fault. And it kind of always has been. And I didn't really realize this until reading this article. It's from, I think it's from either the New Republic or Jacobin or something. But
good sources.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Alrighty. While you're looking for that, I'll continue. No, it's the other thing is that we had a Supreme Court ruling last summer that was that the president's a king. That the president's actions in office are presumed lawful, which is not, and that grants a bunch of extra immunities on top of it as far as like investigating any potential crimes. So like, the fuck you gonna do?
Well,
even if it's illegal, even if you find that what he is doing is illegal, you can't hold that against him, and you can't hold that against anyone who helped him do it.
Not yet.
No, you would need a new Supreme Court. You need
a new government in power, which we may get. Who knows? But it is true that there's not much the Democrats can do at the institutional level, but there are things they could be doing at the level of popular politics and mutual aid and community building and establishing the foundation for a resistance movement. And we see some Democrats doing that, like AOC, Bernie, Chris Murphy, Jasmine Crockett, and not all of them are leftists. Some of them are just boilerplate liberals, but they're standing up and they're doing something. So we stand with them. That's what every Democrat should be doing. Like every Democrat in Congress could vote no on every single thing that Republicans propose.
Right.
That wouldn't accomplish much. It would be symbolic, but it would help shore up the confidence of the general public to know that they're not alone. And the fact that the Democrats are not doing that across the board is shameful, in my opinion.
And you see it work where they do it. Like this week in the House Finance Committee, the Democrats voted as a solid no block, but also conservative Republicans voted against the bill as well, because was this sort of like financial conservative Republican contingent in the House Finance Committee voted against it as well, because they didn't like where the tax money was going in it. So it has stalled out this big omnibus bill that the Trump administration has been promising since inauguration day. And that only works because the Democrats are a solid no vote, right? Because those financial hawk conservatives are going to vote against it every time, because that's their that's what they run on. That's what their that's their whole platform.
I'm somebody that has believed in the Constitution, just like as a document since I've learned about it. And of course that's been tested in recent years, but I still generally was like, it's as long as it was kept, people held to it, then it can hold up. But I mean, after reading this, I kind of don't know anymore. And I'd like to know what you guys think.
Sure. Go ahead and read it.
So as it says, only a democratic constitution. What? We don't have that? No, we don't have one. So Donald Trump continuing his assault on many of the rights found in the Constitution, including freedom of speech, due process, birthright citizenship. And this does apply to any liberal that, has and could have pressed these same points. It just happens that Trump is the one that's pushing it the hardest. So his administration has appeared willing to defy federal courts that find his actions unconstitutional. In this environment, many commentators are doubling down on the set of rules written in 1787 as a bulwark against Trump's agenda. Case in point is a recent New York Times editorial board article, "Who Will Defend the Defenders of the Constitution?" which asked the Supreme Court justices to become bolder about protecting this legal system they oversee. The Times is not alone in hoping the Constitution will stop Trump's agenda. University of California, Berkeley declared only checks on the unconstitutional acts of Trump administration will come from the courts. Chris Hayes, it's just over and over. You get the point. A bunch of people saying that this is what we need, is people just to hold to the Constitution. But an honest investigation of what led to the present moment brings us back to the Constitution itself. Trump came to power in 2016 despite losing the popular vote, an outcome enabled by the Electoral College, an 18th century contraption designed to insulate elite rule from Democratic majorities. Once in office, Trump had his Supreme Court justice nominations confirmed by the comically undemocratic Senate, thanks to its malapportioned system of representation in which each state gets 2 senators regardless of population, All Trump's nominees, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, were confirmed by senators representing a minority of the population. The problem predates Trump, of course. 1991, Clarence Thomas was also confirmed by a Senate majority representing less than half the population. To make matters worse, it's now common knowledge that Thomas is on a billionaire's payroll. Billionaire, maybe Nazi.
Nazi enthusiast for sure.
Definitely enthused about the Nazis. 5 of the 6 conservative justices were nominated by presidents and first-term Trump, George W. Bush and first-term Trump, who lost the popular vote. And these things start stacking up, and you're like, holy shit. Right. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't seem very democratic at all.
No.
And it's not just like a bunch of flukes. It all seems to stem from the same fucking problem, which is that the Constitution is not written in a democratic way at all.
No, by design.
No,
it's not set up to be a democratic document, and that we do need a democratic constitution. Like, there's almost no other way around it. So
I'm going to pull up Sean's super. Oh, you got it. All right.
Yeah, if the Constitution is weak, then why was the government more willing to indict Agnew, Nixon, and Clinton? Because back then there was the people still valued the appearance of abiding by rules. It's the same way that, like, they could have been cheating in football and baseball long before they started actually cheating in football and baseball, professional. You know what I mean? Like, but that didn't really start happening on a major level until the last couple of decades. Whenever you started getting McGuire and Sosa and all these fucking jacked up freaks on steroids, slamming balls into the fucking stratosphere. But people could have been doing that more prior to that. But there was still like some love of, at some point, it's like the population became more hungry for wins than playing a good sport. You know what I mean?
So that's part of it. The other part of it is, those are all different things. Like with Nixon and Agnew, that's sort of intertwined. Is you had a country that existed in a shared media reality,
true,
wherein everyone agreed Nixon did what Nixon did, and the people who helped Nixon do it. There was no avoiding that. There was not a media ecosystem which would tell Nixon supporters 24/7, 365 that what he did was okay. You also had this is sort of before the Southern strategy has taken full effect. It's being implemented with Nixon, but we really don't see its full effect till Reagan. And you have conservative Republicans, you have liberal Democrats. The parties are not so coalesced in the shakeup after the Civil Rights Act, and then following that, Nixon's election. And Nixon was a contentious figure within the Republican Party even before he was elected president. So he had there wasn't a cult of Nixon to protect him in the same way there was a cult of Trump. Clinton was literally a media circus. Like what Clinton did was fucking wrong and gross, and unrelated to his duties as president. He should have, faced conviction for his sex crimes once he was out of office. And I don't think impeachment was wrong, but what created the consensus that it was something that should be done.
What Nixon did.
Well, there's a case to be made that what Clinton did would fall under the high crimes and misdemeanors if they had approached it as a case of sexual assault, which is what it was.
It's what it was.
Adultery. But the bottom line is that Nixon, Agnew, and Clinton were all political liabilities for the capital class.
Yeah.
And that's why they were successfully impeached.
Yeah. But and none of them were removed by the Senate. So Trump was also impeached twice. He was successfully impeached by the House.
He wasn't convicted, though.
He was not convicted. Neither were Clinton or Nixon. Nixon resigned
before they could get that far.
Right. And Clinton was cleared. He was also not convicted by the Senate.
Yeah. But this article is correct.
Yeah.
Like the existence of the Electoral College and the way the Senate is designed are both inherently undemocratic, and they are designed to favor the interests of rural states over urban states.
Right. Is what
the electoral college means that the vote of a person who lives in New York City or Los Angeles weighs less in the system than does a person who lives in Wisconsin.
Kansas. Yeah.
The same way with the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Like the two senators from California represent more people than like most of the other states put together.
Right. And then even in the House, because in the past, the House representation was uncapped. Basically, there was a set number of, for every so many thousands of people, you get X number of representatives in your state. But then, I think in the 30s, they passed a bill that capped the size of the the House to its current size, and the population adjusts accordingly, and you are guaranteed a minimum one. Which also removes the democratic power of the House, as effectively those minimums cause, and there should be a minimum. You always should have a representation in the House, but it effectively means that the democratic representation of the House is stymied, and the House's role as the people's house, wherein that your congressperson is supposed to be more answerable to you than the Senate, because the Senate was originally not even elected by the general populace. It was elected by it was nominated and picked by the state governor. There's too many people per congressperson now to actually effectively represent their districts. And because the elections are every 2 years, it creates a huge incumbency bias. Whereas senators are more affected by presidential politics.
So, I mean, and essentially, it seems like the Constitution allowed the Senate and the executive to give themselves enough power to overlook the Constitution.
Correct.
Which is kind of crazy, and that there should have not been able to do that.
So you the important historical note with the U.S. Constitution is it's actually the second governing document of the United States. The first was the Articles of Confederation, and that they didn't work. Yeah. And so this was a document that was trying to both keep the United States together as a whole country, while also having a functioning government. And before it did one of those things and not the other, it kept the Union together, but it didn't really work as a federal.
So you're saying it almost required a little bit of top level over proportioned power in order to keep the country together.
It was the two senators thing, right? Was a concession to smaller states like Rhode Island that did not have the populations. Like, well, if what is our reputation in this? What is our representation of this government? Because like New York or Virginia is always going to be able to bully us.
Yeah, well, maybe they deserve it,
Well, maybe they do, right? But like,
that was the same justification given for the Electoral College as well,
right? Yeah,
so most of this was built into place to protect the political interests of slave owners,
right? And that is the other part of it. Is that a lot of
just held on to it? Like the Electoral College is directly a consequence of slavery,
as
it's not anything else, and we're still using it.
Right.
So at the end of the day, like it seems to me, and I'm probably wrong on this, just based off the top of my head, it seems like the only actually unconstitutional thing that Trump has been doing has been taking over spending from Congress.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But no, because I'm saying like as far as like deporting whoever the fuck they want, they can just declare whoever a fucking enemy of the state, because that's in the Patriot Act, right?
No,
but the Patriot Act is not the Constitution.
Yeah,
no, but the Patriot Act was designed to, shirk the Constitution in many ways.
So for instance, like our, the executive is still legally, like, constitutionally bound by treaties, by any treaty the United States signs and ratifies, right? So you have all of these refugee laws are based in these treaties we have signed. So any policy that affects refugees or prevents refugees from entering the company or the country, I mean, it is becoming a company at this point, is a violation of our treaties, and that is a violation. The president is supposed to faithfully execute our treaty obligations.
Yeah, I mean, and I was kind of being glib a little bit earlier whenever I compared them, baseball and football to this. But there is the one thing that does tie them together is the influence of money,
right?
Corporate, power. And like you had, I mean, I don't know the details, but I'm relatively certain that there was money involved with, encouraging players to do what they've done, and whether it was what's his name deflating the fucking football or whatever.
Peyton Manning, yeah.
You know about that, right? That's a you thing.
Deflategate. I know that because at the time it was happening in my gaming group, we had someone who's a huge Patriots fan and a couple people who are part of the state religion of the Green Bay Packers, and they would go at each other hard about that. And I was like, I would like to roll some dice now, please.
And this is true. Like, nobody could have imagined a branch of government giving away their power, but then apparently there was a certain degree of loss over time, and then influence by money that would encourage branches to actually give in.
Another part of giving up federal power as a whole has come from the religious right, as far as like the Johnson Amendment and things like the National Prayer Breakfast. And now we have Trump's like anti-Christian bias task force. Like, that's clear violations of the separation of church and state. But we have just allowed that to appease a section of Christians who claims to speak for the Christian majority of the country, despite not doing that in an objective way.
Mm-hmm. That's the big difference between Nixon and Trump.
Yes,
is when Nixon was in power, we didn't have the people that we now call Christian nationalists were out there, but they were just getting started, and now they are in power.
Yes,
and they've spent decades building up their power base and infiltrating the government from the bottom up. Like they started with like school boards and shit like that.
When you believe that, if you give away your power in the current system that you hate, and you want to see that system overturned for a new system that you believe that if you just give away your power now in this one, that you'll have new power, higher power in the new system, then you'd probably be more inclined to give away that power now, right? And that's what I think a lot of these people are doing, is they see this as their fucking gambit to overturn the way things are. They've lost so long, and they recognize that culturally, even politically, just by playing by the rules, they could no longer win.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
You can't fucking deny it, no matter where you look. And then, so this is what they've chosen instead. Instead of losing gracefully, instead of getting with the times, instead of, anything resembling being what it's supposed to be a democratic, union. No, they're going to just shit on the board and knock it all over all the pieces. And then, whatever's left, they're going to claim as theirs.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, right here, real quick, was it though? I mean, I know we were told it was, but
that's what they said. Yeah.
They also told us there were fucking nukes in Iraq and stuff. So
that is you people who said a lot of things, and very little of it was true.
So we have to remember the Republican Party of today. The majority of the Republicans in Congress do not believe in democracy.
No,
they explicitly want a theocracy based on an ideology called the Seven Mountains Mandate.
Right.
And so the reason they're giving up all this power to Trump is because they don't think Congress should exist.
No.
And they think the president should be imbued with imperial power.
You have two groups of Republicans. You have sort of two broad caucuses in the Republican Party ideologically. You have the Seven Mountains Dominionism that Bob was discussing, and you also have this sort of neo-feudalistic libertine capitalism embodied by people like Elon Musk. And this is like where we had the issue with the House Finance Committee with this bill that was shot down, was that pro-capitalist, pro-business class is not always going to agree with the dominionist sect of the Republican Party, especially as they co-radicalize each other. Yeah.
I mean, as far as this goes, we've discussed this probably to
a lot. It's a lot.
It goes back much farther than that.
It does.
Goes further than that. It goes back to the John Birch Society, and even without the religious element, the same things were being pushed, and it took a few decades for those two elements to coalesce, as far as like the political fucking nut jobs who have thought everything around the corner was a fucking communist,
right?
To coalesce that with what the religious right hated, which was any idea of anything outside of the bonds of fucking traditional marriage or whatever. And then once eventually they massage the narratives together enough to where it's communist and gay, once those two things
and
are pushed
satanic,
enough,
the
commies are all gay and the gays are all commies, then hey, they're off to the races with that shit.
I have a book recommendation for Sean, Tom. It's called One Nation Under God by Kevin J. Cruz. It's a history of exactly this thing, and it traces all the way back to the passage of the New Deal.
Yep.
The opposition to the New Deal is where the religious right started. And it got its first hold on power during the Eisenhower administration.
Yep.
The Eisenhower administration was extremely similar to what Trump is doing right now. People forget this. But, the words under God were placed into the
Constitution.
The Pledge of Allegiance during Eisenhower. The motto of the country became "In God We Trust" under Eisenhower. Eisenhower started the National Prayer Breakfast.
Yep.
Eisenhower had Billy Graham in the White House doing religious revival stuff.
Book recommendation.
Fantasyland.
Yeah,
a good one.
This goes back to the literal founding of the country, the first people that came here. And, there's a lot of romanticization of the types of people that, they with the grit of their teeth, they came and they conquered. It's like so many more people died fucking terribly trying to make anything happen in this country than the few who didn't, that we don't hear about them. But basically this country was founded by fucking lunatics that, believed that they were special. And that's essentially what the Republican Party has become, is the party for people who still hold that fucking just, pre-American tradition of believing that you're fucking special and that you deserve more and that you're the one that's going to fucking take it from everybody else. And, and it's just been ushered along through various means, throughout the centuries. But
so for some reason
is fighting that id in its most fucking, brazen form.
Are you having trouble putting in chat?
I was going to say, for some reason, chat's not accepting me right now. I don't know why. So, Sean, the book I mentioned is titled One Nation Under God. The author is Kevin J. Cruz, and his last name is spelled Kruse. And then there's the book that Dane showed you on screen, Fantasyland, which is also a great read.
Yes.
But Fantasyland is more of the big picture, and One Nation Under God is the more recent
snapshot
congealing of all those elements into what we're seeing now.
Yeah, if you know exactly how it came to be currently, then I would definitely I recommend what Bob's saying. I'm just saying that if you wanted to go back further and see the kind of the prototypical mindset that eventually morphed into that, I think that Fantasyland's a good way to do it.
Yeah. I'll put it in chat. So
got it all written down.
Yeah, Morgan's going to put the title and the name in the chat.
Yeah, so there's the two. Oh, they didn't put us. There's supposed to be this line break in between those two, but
right. I think someone wanted the author's name as well. Kevin J. Cruz, Kruse.
And Kurt Anderson's the other one. Let's see. I actually have the book right here. I can bring up.
That's it.
That's the guy.
I'm guessing
Kevin M. Cruz. Excuse me. I thought it was J.
Is this
Sorry to Kevin J. Cruz.
Wait, is this
You're thinking Kevin J. Anderson, the sci-fi writer.
Is that the whole book?
Seems like it.
Oh my gosh.
There you go. Read that for free on Google Books while you still can. Or is it?
Okay, you can read the first part for free, it seems like.
Oh.
Nope.
Here we go.
What's the page count on that document?
Let's see. I don't know.
It looks like the whole book. Wow.
353. Let's go to the epilogue.
Yep. That's the whole book. Yeah.
So I'll put that link in the chat, actually.
There you
It
go.
looks like there are some pages missing. It looks like it, but that's a fair amount of the book right there.
I don't think so because it's just taken a while for them to populate once I go to it.
Oh, because it's loading the whole ebook. Yeah, it'll take a minute. It's a slow format.
There you go.
Bada bing.
I guess this guy decided that you need to read this book.
There you go. Good. So yeah, that is the Trumpian refugee crisis. And this is not getting reported on. Nothing. If you have tuned into the news media on the left of Franco side of things this week, there has been a hot button topic that keeps coming up. And that's Joe Biden.
Wait, is he old?
It turns out, breaking news, Joseph Biden is old. And as an old man, he might not have the mental faculties he did as a young man.
Are you saying he's not fit to be our president?
I'm saying it's entirely possible that Joe Biden should not be our president anymore.
Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's a little late in the campaign.
Yeah, about 10 months after he dropped out.
I do believe Kamala Harris is the Democratic nominee right now.
Or wait a minute, hold on, catching up with the timeline.
Wait, are we past that too?
We're past
we
that too.
Start calling these motherfuckers weird, and we got this shit, guys.
Yes, lean into the weird.
Oh, she stopped calling him weird, and now she's hanging out with fucking conservatives. Oh no, I'm experiencing it all in fucking real, like.
The timeline's catching up with you. Yeah.
So why are we still talking about this?
This count can't be right. No, this can't be right. Right? No. Podcast did this. No.
So
Joe Rogan.
What happened is, I forget which news writer wrote a book about how Joe Biden is old. So now the media is telling the story once again that Joe Biden is old.
And he's immediately got a fucking Pulitzer Prize, right?
He probably will.
Yeah.
No, it's a book, so it'll be
Nobel Prize.
No, that's not that.
I don't know. I don't know what prizes are.
Nah, you can win the Pulitzer. You can win the Pulitzer Prize for nonfiction books.
Oh, can you? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've only paid attention to them as a journalistic thing for news articles and stuff.
Yeah, because fucking Obama won one, right? Didn't he?
He won a Nobel Prize for being elected. Obama's Nobel Prize was bullshit.
Yeah, it was a little bit fluffed up, I think.
Just a little bit, yeah. So no, it's. And if you're like, well, Joseph Biden did a bunch of things I don't like, my thought is cool. I probably agree with you even.
Yeah.
But do you know who is never going to hold power in this country again?
The left.
Sorry. Well, specifically, cancer patient Joe Biden is probably done with politics.
Yeah, I think so.
Disgraced politician Joe Biden is probably done with politics at this point.
He did that disgraceful thing of being too old.
Yes.
Meanwhile, have you guys seen the new guy? He's fucking full of verve. He's just with it. He's fucking on fire, guys. He's
the guy who can't pay attention in his like press conferences, the guy who sits on an incontinence pad.
Yep.
The guy who is taking a $400 million plane as a bribe from a foreign government.
The guy who's been literally shitting his pants while sitting in a fucking fake boardroom since before he was president the first time.
So I don't know the book you're talking about, but I'm going to guess that the premise of the book is that a lot of the people around Biden,
yes,
at the time he was president, knew he was no longer fit for office and hid this fact from the media as long as they could.
Yeah.
That's the premise of the book, yes.
I feel like that information's been out there for a while now, though. So this is just the details of that.
This is just the thing we already knew.
we're gonna hear the specific anecdotes of how they did this because they didn't want him to look bad or whatever, right? That's what it is.
Well, and I think most of it from the news interviews I've listened to. I have not read the book because I think it comes out this week. I don't think it's out yet for the general public, and I'm not going to. If I read it, I am going to borrow it from somewhere. I am not going to spend money on this book. It is that there were people in Joe Biden's administration that had roles in the administration and did their job without like checking in with him on every little detail. And sometimes when he was
and they didn't even receive any money from any shady people to do that stuff like the current administration does. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's it. And yes, some of it is alleged, according to this author's sources, that sometimes he would not be having a good day or whatever, and they would make decisions without him.
In all seriousness, that did coalesce with the Kamala's campaign, because while they were pushing Kamala to some degree, they also didn't want her to overshadow him.
Right.
They didn't want to make him look bad by making her look too good. And whenever you've got a guy that you're working every day to not make look bad simply by virtue of him being an old fucking bastard that is losing his grip, I can imagine that played some unknowable role in the campaign failures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is just another instance of a journalist who had information of vital interest to the public at the time, who sat on it because they knew they could write a book about it years later.
Right.
Which is a whole other problem we need to talk about.
It's a whole right. It is.
They call this the Wolf approach. I think his name is right. Wolf. Wasn't that the guy that wrote the books about Trump?
Yeah.
But
he didn't start it though. This is a long practice.
Yeah.
Investigative journalists are supposed to, in principle, provide information of vital interest to the public in real time, so that the public can do something about it, like through their elected representatives or legal action or whatever. But instead, they keep getting all these scoops and then sitting on them for 5 or 6 years until the presidency is over.
Right.
And then they write their tell-all book, and it's too late. However, I will say this. I will say there is one silver lining to this, is that the Democratic Party really needs to reckon with how badly it fucked up here. And if publicly reminding them how badly they fucked up gets us there.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are known to look in the mirror and take a hard look and make brand changes based on that look. Sure.
I think what this does and what we'll do for the Democratic Party is instead of blaming all of their problems on whatever the source of those problems are, it is just going to become this sort of weird mirror of when every problem of the country was caused by Barack Obama. Every one of the Democratic Party's woes is now going to be Joe Biden's fault. This gives cover for the do-nothings in both houses of Congress, on fair weather liberals like Gavin Newsom, and now even Grant Whitmer in Michigan. This is going to be used to entrench the party's consultant class as the real agents of change in the party, even though they are agents of stagnation in the party. Because
they're already doing that.
You're right. Did you pass the Joe, like, where were you when Joe Biden did X? And it will just give these people who have done nothing more power in the party. Because now they have this. Go ahead.
The consultancy class in the Democratic Party, at least right now, is going to blame this on the left.
Right. Even though they're the ones who put Biden forward.
Yeah. And I'll tell you exactly how they're going to do it. They're going to blame AOC and Bernie.
Yep.
because they stood with Biden and Kamala during the whole when this decision was being made.
Right.
And Biden had not yet announced that he was stepping down.
Right.
And the party was splintering over the question. AOC and Bernie said, we stand with Biden. And they did that. This is the part that doesn't get reported enough. They did that because the labor movement asked them to do that. Labor said, particularly Sean Fain, said Biden is, of all the potential candidates right now, Biden is the best one for labor. So we're going to stick with him unless a better option emerges. And that's why AOC did that.
Right.
But in retrospect, she's going to be blamed as one of the people that kept Biden in power too long.
And also,
I mean, that's partially true, I guess, but they're going to impugn her motives.
Right.
They're going to lie about what her motives were.
Right. Also, as an independent senator and a congresswoman who is not in favor with the party establishment, likely weren't privy to this information, right?
Yeah.
So they were, they were.
AOC has talked about in an interview she did with Bernie, I think, how and she warned on people about this on her Instagram live at the time, about how all of the people calling for Biden's resignation were corporate Democrats, like Gavin Newsom and all that wing of the party, who wanted a more conservative, anti-labor Democrat on the ticket.
They wanted Newsom.
This is a good point. However, counterpoint, not to say that you're wrong, really, it's just saying this. When you look at how the right cheats to win, and they've done so both with Supreme Court nominations, justices, they've done so in every context, really. It almost kind of makes some sense to be a little scared to let go of that seat when you absolutely don't have to, right? Or you feel like I'm still able to consciously pay attention to some degree. Maybe if I just wait, you know what I mean? Like,
so like, I think that I think
Ginsburg was doing okay. I think
I think it's one of those things that I think it's comparing Ginsburg to elected officials is different, because Ginsburg's job,
and I think
was
her
not
brain was
direct.
doing okay. It was just her body that was shit at that point, right? Like,
but I also think her job, her role in the country was fundamentally different than an elected official. That if you're a Dianne Feinstein, or I can't think of the congressperson's name who got that committee seat over AOC, and he has a terminal cancer diagnosis and now is not really showing up to work anymore. Like, if you're an elected official whose job is to represent a constituency, you owe it to your voters to do the job to represent them. And part of doing that job means if you can't do that job to the fullest, you need to not do it. You need to find someone better. And whether that's in like a House of Representatives example, to step aside and let someone else be the primary representative of the party in that committee.
That might be the odd man out here on that. I mean, I don't mean to make any excuses for the Biden administration and the people around him. However, being the president means having a strong stable of people that know what they're doing around you, and that's what Biden did well.
Yes.
Right? His entire administration was, with any of the good things that happened, were practically because of that.
Right.
I can understand the lines becoming blurred over time about when the time to no longer rely on the people around him was. Right. Like if it's like if you're kind of just he's the figurehead, and otherwise you just got a bunch of smart people trying to make the best decisions they can around him in the administration, and then it gets to the point where he's actively fucking falling asleep in debates and shit like that. You know what I mean? Those types of things. I can understand being like, well, we're able to do this anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that I don't think that it was probably malicious intent.
No,
it was probably almost definitely just fucking zealous overconfidence, maybe.
Well, I think what it is in the case of most of those people, just based on their job performance in those roles, they were hired to do a job, and they did their job. And if you've ever worked a job,
inertia.
Or even just
the difference between the reason the Republicans are able to do the shit that they do, and the Democrats are not able to match them, is because of the party structures. The Republicans in Congress do not have seniority rules.
No.
If somebody is like the hot new young voice of the party, they can rise to power very quickly and get a big constituency. Whereas in the Democratic Party, you have to wait your turn.
Right.
And that's the problem. That's what needs to change.
Republicans. I'm so incongruent. I know what you mean, but I'm sorry, but the words just make me think of incongruency. The hot new Republican.
Well, you think like your Matt Gaetz is, right? Matt Gaetz is not an old man.
No.
Right. That's why there's so many of the Republican faces are so much younger than all the Democrats that we see.
Well, and that's why you hear from them a lot more. It's why you hear from fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and all these fuckers that like they
You're right. The party structure rewards them for being firebrands.
Yep. And in more recent years, it rewards them for being fucking insane people.
Yeah, I mean we are at the point where true believers of people, the true believers are the ones who are running the show now, rather than the people who got into power manipulating the true believers. Because I don't think that a lot of Republicans bought the shit they were selling. It was just the price of admission. I think most of them didn't care, just because that's how people work. But now I think the ones in power are true believers of some
and all of the political energy.
Say again.
And all of the political energy in the Republican Party is coming from the base of the party.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Democrats, all of the political energy is coming from the institution at the top.
Well, I
think the people who have the energy of the base behind them, like AOC, Jasmine Crockett, are not being given the opportunity to by the party,
right,
to be as effective as they could be. Like you mentioned, the fact that AOC was nominated to not to run, but to be the ranking Democratic member on the oversight committee,
right,
which is a very public facing position. And the party, Nancy Pelosi, overrode that and whipped the votes against her to put in a guy who has in his 70s and has terminal cancer. And that guy just stepped down.
Right.
And that was like 4 or 5 months where we could have had AOC, who is arguably the most effective communicator in the Democratic Party, on TV and on podcasts every single day, talking about all the bullshit that the Trump administration is pulling. But the party structure doesn't let her do that.
Right. And the party strategy is to do nothing. The Democratic Party at that level, the DNC level, does not want to do anything. They want to sit there on their hands while Trump does bad things so that in 15 months they can point, when it comes to re-election time, to go, look at the bad stuff Trump's done. None of that sells the Democratic Party. No one, what does the Democratic Party believe in? I don't fucking know right now. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you what individual Democrats believe in. I can tell you I'm going to vote for a bunch of them. But as a party, I don't think the party stands for shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's bold of the consultancy class and the James Carvilles of the Democratic Party to think that we're going to have midterm elections at all at this point.
It is.
You know, I hope we do.
I do, yeah.
But at the rate we're going, we're not going to have them. And they are not rising to meet the moment. And that's because the party structures, the institutional inertia favors seniority over popularity.
Right.
And that needs to change right away or we're fucked. I mean, we're fucked anyway, but
I want to point out that we've made a mistake, big mistake on this episode. We forgot to hear from the most important perspective during the first segment. We did not ask, His Majesty, Boss Nass, whether he agrees with our take or not.
All right, live from Otagunga.
Yep, here we go.
Boss Nass.
Yes.
We shall like it. Maybe we shall being friends.
All right. So look, we actually gained a viewer during that, so that just tells me that this is a very popular segment.
He makes a compelling argument. I cannot argue with Boss Nas.
I mean, being friend.
I did feel like one thing I wanted to say about Biden and his ass cancer is that I'm really not looking forward to all the Republicans that are almost certainly already saying terrible shit about him having gotten ass cancer, and then there's going to be the how dare you conversations
when Trump shits himself to death or chokes to death on a fucking Big Mac.
But I mean, this is also good, about left wing or ostensibly lefty commentators that are going to be like, how dare they say that about Biden's ass cancer or whatever? And it's just like, guys, come on, fucking, he's not even president anymore. Just let him die of ass cancer in peace,
This is my opinion of Joe Biden. Who the fuck cares?
I just was reminded. I saw a clip in a video I was watching the other day of Biden during the arguing for the crime bill in '91.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of had the ass cancer coming. I don't care what he did. He did some pretty good shit as president. Not everything he should have or could have, but he did some good shit. He still maybe deserves the ass cancer because of that shit.
I don't believe anyone deserves ass cancer.
True.
Yeah.
Just as a rule.
I think he deserves to.
Him talking about the crime bill in a while. It's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough. Yeah.
What's worse? Joe Biden. Yeah, what's worse than that is his unflagging support for the Israeli genocide.
Yes,
in Palestine, and I think what he deserves is to be remembered by history as a monster. That's what I think.
I don't disagree. I think that he abandoned those people.
Mm-hmm.
He armed their killers.
Yep,
and I think in doing so, undercut the moral foundation of the political movement he represented. And I think there's pretty clear evidence that his support for Israel cost him or cost Kamala the election.
Latest polling data shows that a majority of people who voted for Biden in 2020 and did not vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, like the Democrats who stayed home, majority of them, the number one reason they gave
Palestine
was they were disgusted by the support of Israel in Gaza.
Even though I disagree with their decision,
the massive
I understand why
to African American communities, I don't think is worth it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it may have had some good stuff mixed in there, but I mean, it didn't stop domestic abuse. It didn't do enough about domestic abuse, and what it did do considerably well was
over police,
demonize African American males.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done all of that good stuff and none of that bad stuff in a bill. You're the most powerful people in the country.
What we need, though, and this is a transition here. What we need.
You love transition.
we need a speech. We need somebody who will step up and kind of give it one of these.
The only good senator.
Fellow senators, friends, colleagues, allies, adversaries.
Fellow delegates.
I stand before you this morning with a heavy heart.
Spoilers for Andor.
We are in crisis.
Spoilers for Andor. Eventually, the Empire turns really bad for the galaxy, and it's not good for anybody.
But I do want to call it the spoiler warning for these scenes, just because this is part of the emotional hammer of Andor season 2.
This is actually all of the emotionality just jammed into a couple of minutes. It's pretty fucking excellent mix. Edit is what I'm thinking of.
Continued an inexplicable Gorman resistance to imperial norms.
The distance between what is said
and what is known to be true.
Terror attack and robbery have taken place.
All the propaganda
has become an abyss.
Terrorism strikes again in Gorman.
They don't even bother to lie badly anymore. I suppose that's the final humiliation.
Of all the things at risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous.
Say it again for the chuds in the back.
Yep.
The right ideas, planted in the right markets, we can weaponize galactic opinion.
The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil.
Spoilers for anybody that thought that this whole Gorman thing was going to turn out pretty okay.
The only story that matters is Gorman aggression.
When truth leaves us, when we let.
I mean, kind of spoilers for France in a way, you know. Isn't there some Franco kind of rebellion going on in there? Something like that.
Spoilers for the United States.
Yeah, spoilers for the United States. Yeah, coming soon to 2020, 2014.
Hopefully
probably
soon.
This summer.
Yeah, probably.
Especially because
slip away.
Yeah. Okay.
When it.
Go ahead. What?
Because the tariffs and trade deals just continue to screw up shipping, and we're going to quickly begin to run out of food.
Yeah.
It is ripped from our hands.
We become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest.
This chamber's hold on the truth was finally lost on the Gorman Plaza. What took place yesterday was unprovoked genocide. Help us! And that truth has been exiled from this chamber. Is there no one who can help us? And the monster screaming the loudest? The monster we've helped create. The monster who will come for us all soon enough is Emperor Palpatine.
It's a good edit.
Damn good at it. I showed it on Friday. It's worth seeing again. I just realized right at the end there that Bob has not watched Andor yet, but
that's why I said spoilers for Andor.
That's okay. I don't care about spoilers either.
Okay.
Like at all.
I don't either. Yeah.
You know how things are generally going to end up. It's just a matter of what are the details of how it ends up that way, you know. It considering it takes place before two very well-known events in the timeline.
Yeah, and if you're a huge Star Wars nerd, like the Gorman Massacre is what pushed Mon Mothma to do exactly that speech in both canons, and we already knew that. This was just like showing those moments from her perspective and from Cassian's perspective.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I had to learn this way. The Empire is actually the bad guys.
Well, what the Empire does is strike back.
The Empire brings order to the chaos of the galaxy.
The chaos they created.
And those who stand against it are religious fanatics and terrorists called the Jedi.
Okay, well, fuck the Jedi, though.
Probably about that long for me, anyway. I don't know about these two.
Yeah, I got about 30 minutes left in me.
Yeah.
So we're just going to talk about.
Let's move on to a palate cleanser of some kind.
Yes, time to cleanse the palate.
Just to kind of touch off on Andor a little bit more. I think it's good. You should watch it.
You should watch it.
That and then the channel Diet and the Force have been giving me, twinklings of that old fandom that I used to cherish about Star Wars.
I have exactly one complaint about this season, and blue ink on my finger.
Hey. What's the complaint?
The ending for one character we see at the end. I just don't particularly care for it. I see.
Are you talking about Dedra?
No, I'm not. Dedra's ending is beautiful.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's cinematic. Bix's ending is not my favorite piece of Star Wars storytelling.
It is kind of the whole, but at least, the character. Yeah, I mean, hey, Bob, I don't know if you've seen Rogue One, but Cassian Andor dies.
Yeah. He very dies.
Well, he obviously does not in this, because this is not a rehash of Rogue One, but it does get right up to the beginning of Rogue One.
It tickles Rogue One's backside.
In the same way that, not quite the same way, because it gets a little bit closer, the end of Rogue One to A New Hope. They get very, very close. But it does create a pretty connected storyline. And spoiler alert. So, I mean, the last thing you see is Bix, Cassian Andor's his lady friend, his lady of the night. No,
his girlfriend.
his girlfriend, is a partner who chose to. Was that the part you don't like too? That she chose to leave him for, or just the very end?
I didn't care that I didn't like that she left him so that he could do rebel stuff because she was
very much Catwoman leaving Batman at the altar.
Yeah, it's like I don't like this.
Like, you can't do the thing that you need to do if we stay together. So I'm leaving.
Right.
Even though
like
I love you. That's.
But so the last shot of her is like she's carrying a baby in a farm planet, and I'm just like, really, we're doing this?
So it's doing the whole, maybe the guy died, but his progeny lives on.
Right. It's just like, no, fuck that.
Can you not do this one time, please?
It did make me think about it that like 21st century Star Wars has been really shitty to its women.
Yeah.
Like Padme dies, and obviously Padme has to die, right? That's the whole thing. But Padme dies in a retcon because Leia remembers her mother in Return of the Jedi.
Wait, I thought modern Star Wars was infected by woke feminist nonsense.
That kills women all the time. I got bad news for you. It is killing women
What?
left and right. Yeah, no.
So Cyril was kind of worse than a villain because he was kind of just did it all for the nookie.
He was a useful idiot.
Yeah, and I kind of in some ways have more disdain for somebody who's doing something because they believe in it.
Well, Dedra believes in it, right? Dedra's a true believer.
Right, and she also used him for sure.
She did use him because he's a useful idiot. Yeah.
But when he found out that he was being used, he showed who he really was.
Right.
Which was, I'm going to kill this Cassian Andor motherfucker. Did not
well,
work out.
Well, first he almost kills her.
True. That was intense, man.
That was unsettling. Like that scene was like.
I didn't know how to feel about that. He like puts his hands around her throat and.
Well, it's interesting because like before that, they are depicted as having a very loving relationship, which is interesting. Like they do genuinely care for each other in a way that human beings would, despite being Nazis.
And I don't want to say that she's like a true believer of the Empire, but she wanted to do her job really well.
Really, yeah. I mean, I think she was. I think like
in the end,
too well.
She did show some emotion that she realized how badly things had, gone. Right. Like maybe this is not the right. So I mean, that makes me think she wasn't completely 100% on board ideologically. But that's kind of the problem, is that you don't have to be. If you're a cog in the machine of an empire like this, you don't have to believe everything they believe. You're still playing a part in fucking evil.
Well, it's called the banality of evil. Hannah Arendt wrote about this. How the average Nazi was just a person trying to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care about the ideology. They just followed orders.
Right.
We're just calling him Serial from now on.
I love that. No, but I like Dedra's ending is a work of art. I also like Mon Mothma, like in like the commissary area, just like eating with the regular rebels. That's fucking cool.
Well, I mean, also just like the clash of culture of her, like when she first sees someone get shot in front of her,
she does not know what to do.
Killed him, and it's like, yeah, bitch, what did you think was going to happen here?
Right. Well, his line is literally, "Welcome to the rebellion."
Like everything that she's done has been leading her to this moment, and she's still like, it took her a minute to adjust to the reality of it once the reality kicked in, right?
Right, because she is like
well written.
Because she's been leading the rebellion for years up to that moment, just from the shadows.
Well, I mean, from high class, fucking, high lifestyle, champagne shipping parties, and
right.
I just want to say, I see what the maestro did in chat there.
Yeah.
That's very clever. Spelt instead of spelled. Spelt is a cereal. Spelt is one of the cereal grains.
We have just the best audience. They're just the best. You're the best.
Yep. Good times. Man. Yeah. So Andor's great.
Andor's great.
Now let's talk about Superman trailer, which just looks awful. Wait.
It's so woke. Superman trailer is very woke.
There's the way Lois Lane is nagging him for like almost a whole minute in that trailer.
Lois Lane does a journalism, and like a real fucking journalism.
Leave it to people who both don't respect women having agency or journalism to not understand what's happening in that moment, right?
Right.
there's so much going on there, and I think that scene is telling us where their relationship is in that story. I think in the context of the story, that's going to be their first big fight as a couple.
Right. Yeah.
So what I was reminded is, if anybody tries to be like, this isn't Superman, they literally kind of did this exact thing in Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
They're during the cat park. There's, at least one moment I remember where she and Superman sit down and she's kind of, talking to them about what the implication of their power being so great. Even if they are doing good, have done good so far, they generally have done things right for, what's good and all this stuff, but there's still always going to be that that overhanging question of what they could do with their power if they decided to. And, and it's in a very antagonistic kind of journalistic kind of way. And so, I mean, no, it's not even, it's not even a new thing. It's just a new thing in live action movies.
Right. And it's been in the comics before. And
that question was also raised in BVS. It was not answered.
No.
But the question of what is the relationship between Superman's power and global real world politics was posed
in that movie
in BVS, but it was not answered. And it looks like James Gunn's going to answer it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Gunn has more balls than Snyder. Deal with it, folks.
Kind of true.
Yeah, and then so speaking of Justice League Unlimited, what reminded me of that was I watched a video by Rowan J. Coleman today. Video came out today. It's a nearly hour long, maybe 40 minutes or so, retrospective on Justice League Unlimited. And god damn, that was a good show. And I kind of forgot it until watching this again. And it's like I think I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because it was really ahead of its time.
It really is.
Yeah. The fact that it's not live action, as he describes it very well toward the end of it, doesn't matter because it kind of still stands neck and neck in his mind with the MCU as far as interconnected superhero universe.
Yeah, it made me want to go back and watch from the very beginning of Batman,
the animated
series, all the way through to the end of Justice League Unlimited,
as well as the Batman Beyond in there too.
And all of it.
Yeah, see, I've rewatched independently, rewatched Batman and Batman Beyond, and I've rewatched Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, but not as one whole project.
So what it
Superman, the animated series is really good too.
It's really good too. Yeah, I think at the time it wasn't on streaming yet, or I didn't have whatever it was on, so I just didn't get around to tracking that one down.
Being reminded of the second season being the Cadmus arc, I think that's kind of where some of this is the Superman movie is drawing inspiration from.
That quite possibly could be, yeah.
Whether Cadmus is part of it or not, I don't know, but it's just the having the superheroes be answerable to the people as far as
yeah, I don't think Cadmus is part of the movie. Argus is part of the movie because Rick Flag Sr. is the head of Argus now, and
instead of Amanda Waller.
But it is raising that a lot of the here's what I think the movie's going to be about. It's going to be about Superman is kind of new on the scene, and nobody has quite figured out how he fits in yet, and he's going to end up inspiring change in all of the other super powered characters we see in the trailer. All of them are sided with one faction or another, like Luthor or the government or something, and all of them are kind of morally gray, maybe in some way. And Superman is going to end up, because he won't change, because he's gonna be like, no, you move, is gonna inspire all of them to change in some way. Some will be good, some will be bad.
Actually, we don't have to really worry about that at all. You realize you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. They're gonna that crowd of people is gonna make us stink regardless.
Yeah.
All you gotta worry about is whether you like the movie or not.
Yeah.
And the Supergirl movie is based on one of the best Supergirl stories ever written, Woman of Tomorrow.
Oh,
I haven't read that. Pretty recent.
It's really good. That's why Crypto is in this movie, because she's going to adopt Crypto from Superman.
Oh, cool! I like that. I love that Crypto's in this movie.
And that's going to be really cool to see, because almost certainly it's going to follow heavily. The plot is going to follow heavily from the Superman movie into Peacemaker season 2.
Oh, cool.
because I mean, yeah, of course he's going to do that, right? He has to. So like whatever the status quo of superheroes in general is going to affect whatever's going on in Peacemaker, I think.
That would be very interesting.
And that includes whatever's going on with this Michael Rooker native character.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not convinced he's a native character. I think
I'm not
people are misreading that. I think what he's supposed to be is like there was a movement back in the 90s called the men's mythopoetic movement. I think he's supposed to be like a kind of like a guru of masculinity who appropriates like cultural, spiritual concepts from all over the world. That's what I think he is.
That
you're
makes
talking
sense.
about the thing that was kind of the beginning of what's now the Manosphere, right? Like Jordan Peterson kind of built his grift on that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're adjacent.
Yeah. That's what I think he's going to be. I don't think he's intended to be a native character at all, or even
I'm willing
like
to
a
bet
serious
at
shaman.
least 3 of them that are primarily focused on this once the movie comes out. That'll be probably Shillcast is almost certainly going to do one.
We'll do
as well as everybody within the Shillcast is probably going to do their own solo streams talking about it. There's going to be plenty of Superman movie.
Yeah, Superman content will continue until Fantastic Four comes out.
It's just the next week.
Just like the next week, yeah. I'm mad that I forget which of them blinked, but one of them changed the weeks because originally we were going to get the back-to-back. We could double feature it.
Yeah, I wish they'd done that. We could call it the Super Fantastic Weekend or the
right, exactly,
something like that.
It is kind of interesting that both superhero houses are putting out their quintessential I don't want to say but kind of Silver Age inspired characters. The taking it back to basics kind of characters. The more wholesome version of things. But also going to be modernized in some ways, and I'm curious to see how they each do them. And
I'm very excited for both movies.
I was excited for Fantastic Four, and then the Superman trailer happened, and I was like, oh.
I mentally I know like Fantastic Four looks really good, but I think all of my attention right now is on Superman when it comes to superhero movies because hot damn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I've watched that trailer a million times, and there's the shot when he shoots up into the sky and then comes back down.
Yeah.
If you look closely, like slow it down when he comes back down, he's doing a cannonball.
Oh.
He's going to do a cannonball move on that kaiju or something.
Having a little bit of a mistiness in our eyes at the end of the trailer the first time.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that repeated a lot on the internet.
Yeah.
So don't even worry about what people are making a stink over, because I think that human beings with feelings and actual concern for this content and it being good and know what it should be to be good are looking at it the right way, and we're excited about it. I don't know if those words made sense. I'm kind of
I follow. I think it's something that like if you are not a hardcore culture warrior, Superman is probably going to be a good movie, and I think most people are going to enjoy it. The trailer shows a lot of promise. It has been a long time since James Gunn has had a miss. Because even like his horror movies that I'm not like just a big horror person. They're very good horror movies. I'm just not a horror person.
Yeah, I don't think he's had a miss, honestly.
Yeah, it might not have, yeah.
But I find Superman, number one, I just love Superman.
Right.
I've always loved Superman, but I think the Superman is going to like melt the cultural discourse, the culture war discourse, because right now, certain people in that space are trying to position it as it's going to be great. It's going to redeem the superhero movies from the MCU slop. And then when it comes out and they realize it's woke as fuck,
right,
they're not going to know what to do.
And then if Fantastic Four just right after that is also fucking phenomenal, then what are they going to do? I mean, they're just going to have it live, of course, like they do. But just say that it's all bad. They're going to look at a few different random metrics that they might be able to twist into being a negative thing.
But Superman, it looks like, is going to be far more politically salient than Fantastic Four.
Probably.
Armor Wars is supposed to be a show now, I believe. If it even happens, I don't even know. But it's not going to be a movie, so you can stop waiting on that.
Which, like, goddamn, like, Don Cheadle
was always going to be a show, wasn't it?
No, it was going to be.
It's gone back and forth.
Maybe
I don't remember which way it went back and forth, but it's gone back and forth. I just like Marvel, Disney, come here, listen in. You have Don Cheadle. Motherfucking Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Maybe just put that guy on screen and it'll be great. He basically can't fuck up. He's Don Cheadle. What are you doing?
RDJ another extra few bucks to do the hologram AI, drunken hologram AI thing, so that he's not actually coming back, but he's there. You know.
I had a thought about if you were like completely unwilling to divorce the Iron Man franchise from RDJ, what you could do is you could have because like Iron Man had the Jarvis AI and then had the Friday AI, and like the Spider-Man suit has an AI. It would be a Tony Stark thing to do, especially the MCU Tony Stark, to have the War Machine armor's AI be based off of Tony Stark.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Just to harass his friend,
buddy
right?
movie.
Yeah, it's like a buddy cop movie, but one of the buddies is an AI, right? Like,
it wasn't Armor Wars supposed to come after Ironheart, though?
So I mean, anybody that you know, and honestly, I didn't pay close enough attention. I wasn't putting any stock in it, but I had been seeing the chuds saying that Ironheart, you know, was shelved for a couple of years, and I was like, oh, I guess it was, huh?
No.
Well, having watched the new Birdman video, no, it wasn't.
Birdman is just
as he lays out in that.
fire.
It was announced at the end of 2021.
Yep.
And then you know, there was the whole they waited, like nothing goes into production immediately. That was never meant to go into production immediately. So another year passed before they were gonna start, and then they started filming. Then they wanted to do more shooting, because that's what happens with 99% of these projects.
Yep.
And that's when, oh shit, the strike happened.
Right.
And so it didn't actually get to finish shooting and editing until last year. It was not shelved, you know, in order to hide anything or whatever.
And then you've got to do VFX and editing.
And release that on the trailer on the same day as Superman, not because they're in competition, because as Birdman says, they're not. They're two different mediums.
Right. It's TV and movie.
You can go watch Superman, go home and watch Ironheart. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, I mean, I think there maybe is some lack of confidence in it. I don't know why that, you know, would be, except that they're just gotten their confidence shaken lately. But yeah, I don't think it's nearly to the degree that chuds are making it out to be.
I think it's a good trailer. I'm interested in the show now.
Yeah.
I mean, so I haven't actually seen the trailer.
You haven't?
I just I didn't have time. I had other stuff I was involved
Nerdrotic
in.
straight up lies about it several times, and Birdman actually missed one of them.
Oh, wow.
You know, he was saying that, you know, Nerdrotic was like, oh, of course they say she's a genius. They don't ever show her being a genius. They just say she's a genius. Birdman rightfully points out, well, it's a trailer, dumbass. You know, they're going to show, but also we have seen her being this is where I thought that he was going to get it right, and he did, just in a different direction. He said we saw her being a genius in Wakanda Forever, which is true.
Yeah.
But it shows her being a genius in the trailer right before Nerdrotic said that about it while watching the trailer. It shows her fucking, you know, we can check it out. I don't think they'll fucking block me for it.
All right. Yeah.
And also, how do you show someone as a genius? The way you do that is show them doing something technical while having some kind of voiceover say they're a genius.
Right.
But I mean, the thing is, it literally shows her like bypassing the instructions on what she's given to survive the whatever, and she does it a different way and still beats it.
Yeah.
Here we go. One of the things Nerdrotic does to be dishonest about this shit is he's like, oh, why does it say from the producer of Wakanda Forever or director when it could be from the director of Sinners? And it's like, well, dumbass, because it's part of the same franchise, and she was literally introduced in the movie that they're talking. Like, what did you think otherwise, you fucking lying piece of shit?
Well,
Hello?
this is damning it with faint praise.
I want to see a Sinners / Blade crossover.
Ooh, spicy.
Welcome, Mary. In less than 3 minutes, the air in this elevator will no longer be breathable.
Oh, what is this?
Your interview. You'll suffocate and die unless you break into the device on the floor. find a gas mask. Good luck.
Screw this.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius.
That's at the point where Nerdrotic says, "Oh, it doesn't show her being a genius."
So the guy tells her to break into this device to put on a gas mask, and she does something different with the stuff he left in the elevator. Shut up, dude.
Like, can you be any more dishonest than that? I mean, look, shout out to Birdman because he pours over this stuff and he catches stuff that I, wouldn't think to catch all the time. So I'm not like trying to knock him or anything, but in this one case, he was so busy, knocking Nerdrotic for being a racist piece of shit that he kind of missed one.
Right. I won't hold that against him.
No, not at all. I think that he watches our content, so maybe I'll point this out on the Shillcast next time, and he'll hear about it. Yeah, you got it.
So you in or out? Riri, I see you. I see you're fed up, waiting to be acknowledged for your greatness.
So as far as Nerdrotic is concerned, she's a narcissist for wanting to be acknowledged for her greatness.
Oh.
Says man with YouTube channel.
Don't you love how freely they just call everybody a narcissist for like any slight thing that there's like, oh, they want to be recognized for doing something? Narcissist. Meanwhile, I've got 1 million subscribers, even though a bunch of them are bots.
Like there is a certain level of narcissism involved in doing YouTube. And I'm speaking about myself too, right? Like there's a certain amount of like, you know what? People need to see me on camera and hear what I have to say.
The Shillcast is a weekly program that several of us from several channels come together and do on our separate channels. So including this channel you're watching now, if you're on the actual Phantom channel, it's on that. It's on Organized Chaos. It's on Eric Debunks. Sometimes we go ahead and slap it on Turf Nations just to see if he's still alive. But yeah, it's several channels, and that's how we roll. Mainly because we like to see somebody go to the. It's also on the SHILL CLIPS channel, which is usually gets like 5 viewers tops, because we don't advertise that channel. And then somebody Chud will show up and be like, "Oh, you got 5 viewers." It's like, oh man, it's so cute. Anyway.
Yeah, and as David points out, as opposed to Iron Man, who is definitely not a narcissist at all.
This is what I said. This is what I said about fucking like I'm compared him to when Chuds were talking about Wanda being, like, oh, she just gets a pass for all the stuff she did, and she brings up Tony Stark as if that's the same thing. And it's like, no, it's not the same thing. He's actually more obnoxious and has done way more harmful shit to the world. Like, he just kind of he just kind of gets overlooked.
Well, I also think there's a difference when it comes to like comparing the like bad shit Tony Stark did and the bad shit that Wanda did. Is that like Tony like just did normal bad guy rich like military industrial complex shit, like, and which is very bad, like, where she is like, I'm going to use the cosmic forces of the universe to rewrite reality and puppet all of these people for months on end,
because I'm kind of not doing so well psychologically,
right?
But that
like
really is an expression of how society is, right? Like, no forgiveness for the fucking unwell person who made some bad decisions while she was not well.
Right.
All the forgiveness for the fucking rich asshole who just like, without even second guessing himself and completely coherent minded, made some choices to like make an AI that's going to destroy the world and shit like that.
Like, and I think the only difference when she says that line in Multiverse of Madness is that she has been traveling the multiverse, murdering people. Again, using the cosmic forces of reality to do so. And she's in the act of doing evil things, where like Tony has the realization of, wow, I'm doing evil things, and then stops.
So I would add to this, Sean, this is excellent definition. I would also add to any journalist who, in particular women, but even not just women, but who want to hold any white man accountable for his actions or words, because then they're just a victim narcissist. They just want attention for being a victim, and because they're narcissists. So that's why they do that, apparently.
You are not the first genius at MIT.
I mean, this is right. And honestly, good on the MCU for depicting things so realistically. Right? Like, it is the world outside our window. We forgive the war criminals as a society, and we kind of overlook it. But I'll be damned if a woman fucking does something kind of wacky.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I would argue that Wanda. I mean, this is why she became a villain. So,
but she's a victim of the
should have been held. She should have been held more accountable for what she did in WandaVision than she was.
Right.
But that's why she became a villain.
Right.
So,
but also, she's a victim of Tony Stark.
Yes.
She literally her origin story involves sitting in a fucking, house next to a unexploded missile for what, 2 weeks or some shit like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. She was a victim of Tony Stark's war crimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she went on to commit crimes against humanity.
After she tried to be a hero and then was fucking made a mistake and fucking while saving lives and fucking got demonized on television for it.
Yeah, they both suck. I guess that the difference is, like, to me, is that, like, Tony's arc, and this is not to justify them, their characters, this is on the writers, is that Tony's arc is he was a dude who did bad stuff, or was at least okay with bad stuff being done with his money. To someone who recognized that he was part of the problem and did something about it, where she recognized, like, the problem, and then in a moment of trauma became the source of more trauma. We can get into the meta of, like, why that's a shitty writing thing to do to a character. Because these characters don't have
a shitty writing thing to do. I think it's important to point out that sometimes trauma corrupts people.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
We have to, that's a valid thing to write, to depict and write about.
Right.
And I think they did it pretty well with WandaVision. If that show had ended with her getting help.
Yeah, that's my issue.
Which would include help, in my definition, would include some kind of accountability process for her, between her and her victims.
Yeah.
That would have turned out way differently. But they didn't do that with her, and she became the bad guy in Multiverse of Madness.
Right. That she didn't face accountability, and that's my issue, is that she was not held accountable, and then that just further allowed her to spiral.
But I think that was an intentional choice by the writers to demonstrate that if somebody is deeply traumatized and they have access to power,
right,
and they don't get help and accountability, sometimes that turns them into the villain.
Right.
So also, I mean, they could have ended up in similar situations, except that her saving of the world at the last minute, although she was creating the conditions by which the world was being fucked, she did at the last minute save it in Doctor Strange.
That's
but
true.
Nobody was around to see it. Nobody knows she did that. Whereas Tony Stark, he saved the world. Everybody knows about it.
Right.
Big
hole in the sky.
Yep. Anyway, so
let's finish this trailer.
Yes.
Oh yeah, this trailer. Oh, one thing I do like about this trailer, and I knew this I've said this before since I heard about what the show is going to be about, is that the villain is the Hood, who is a magic-based character.
Right.
And I think that's pretty smart to do with her, rather than just like some other tech-based, armor-based, whatever fuck.
It's not going to be Justin Hammer or something.
Right. Yep.
You're not working at one of those fancy tech firms.
After my internship abroad, I want to build something undeniable, something
important,
iconic.
Now she's also a narcissist because she wants to build something iconic, according to Nerdrotic. Just pointing that out.
Okay.
Yep.
I can give you the tools to help you carry out your vision. But anyone who's ever accomplished anything iconic in life has had to do some questionable things to get it done.
Apparently Han Solo's in this. Young Han Solo.
Oh, sure.
Oh, right, Aaron. Okay, that's where I saw him from.
I don't like Parker Robbins, the Hood. I don't like his butt cut hairstyle. I just don't like it parted down the middle like that. It's not good.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not supposed to. He is the bad guy after all.
Maybe that's why he wears a hood sometimes.
It's got hood hair.
What will you do, Riri?
You've bitten off a hell of a lot more than you can chew. I could chew a lot.
And that suit looks awesome.
It does look very cool.
You're gonna rather end up dead or in jail.
This is so much bigger than that.
Yeah, looks cool.
It was fucking awesome.
Like the only, like, if I had to like find a criticism, like the CGI looks like TV CGI. Oh, really? That's at least on my computer.
Okay.
And that's
fine.
such a minor thing to complain about that, whatever. I think I was not interested in this show before the trailer, and after seeing the trailer, I am interested in the show, especially because of what Dane pointed out, that the villain is a magic-based character, and that's a conflict we haven't really ever seen in this format before.
I'm guessing that you mean transvestigated, and because it didn't come out like that.
Yeah, I think it's transvestigated is what they're trying to say, but it probably auto-corrected. But yeah, I have to imagine
they don't need to transvestigate her. They just automatically think all black women are men.
That's true. It's the Michelle
Obama
thing.
If there was a cool fucking Marvel Legends, which there probably will be, I could actually see you getting one of those of her armor. It is a bit of a throwback to older Iron Man armor. When it wasn't sleek and skin tight, which is something I think I've been missing.
I like the bulky armors. Like call me old fashioned, but I like the bulkier Iron Man armors from like the 80s and stuff. It's a cooler. It's more my robot aesthetic.
This is wild. A shady bunker.
My bunker's not shady. Would a shady bunker have that on the wall?
What the fuck?
Well, crate of self-guided missiles.
I'm returning those.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's a character from the comics. I don't remember who he is. It's been a while since I read that era of her comics.
He's going to be her spiritual Caucasian.
Yeah, the magical white.
He's the magical honky. Yes,
that's how he got represented by the magical honkies in these movies. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Every white person is a magical white person in most movies. And
yeah, kind of.
What's with this white dude doing this woke show? I don't know. No, but he was legit. Like, honestly, going into that Solo movie, he was the part that I was dreading the most, and at the end of it, he was the best part.
He's very. I think he's the second. Like, I just think Donald Glover's.
Well, okay, fair.
So good.
He's a white. He's a Wagger Vance. No, wait.
He's the magical cracker.
Speaking again, we'll find out tomorrow if JD Vance strikes again, because he is in Vatican City. So
again,
yeah, he's gone back for more.
I'm surprised they're letting that close.
This new pope is going to piss MAGA off so much, and I think he's going to be a much more effective communicator for Americans because he is an American. He's going to have the same message that Pope Francis had, basically, but the language barrier is going to be gone. So a lot of Americans will connect with him in good ways as well as bad ways.
Right.
So what's her class? I'm not trying to be like an ass here, but what is her classic outfit? Because like the first thing that she had was very much just Iron Man armor. Well, no, the first thing she had was just kind of like what she had in Wakanda Forever, to a degree, just like almost a Mark I kind of
sort of suit. Yeah.
Thing. Then she upgraded.
She has to start with the suit that Tony Stark built from scraps in that cave.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mark I. Yeah.
But we were talking about that the other day. The fact that Chuds are like, oh, she's such a genius. Oh, she's just as smart as Tony Stark. It's like, well, I mean, maybe not, maybe not. But the fact is, she's able to, they're not even giving her the credit to build this thing, not in a cave, not with just a box full of scraps.
Right.
Like,
well, and like,
really is at MIT and has access to shit, and they still don't want to give her the fucking benefit of the doubt that she could put this together.
Yeah, like and an important like continuity note in the MCU. She went to MIT, right? She's an MIT student. In Civil War, Tony gives a speech at MIT saying, "I am funding all of your projects. Go have fun, kids." So like, she did this with Tony Stark money and Stark Enterprises resources. So like, she doesn't have to be as smart as him because he foot the bill.
As Eric DeBunks pointed out in his video on the Geeks and Gamers response to this, is that they called it in the trailer she's a spiritual successor, and he's like, how? They don't even meet, they don't even know each other, and it's like, you don't know what a spiritual successor is.
Nope.
Leave it to a guy with no soul to not know what a spiritual successor is.
Damn, got him.
You're right. That is the scene with Jim Rash, who makes his return in this show.
Yeah, there you go.
Dean. Community, where my Community fans at? Come on.
I have not watched Community yet. I'm allergic to sitcoms.
It's not like that.
I also have not watched Community because I also am allergic to sitcoms.
It's a rash. Really, I just don't like it.
It's better. There's no fucking laugh track. They literally intentionally go against sitcom tropes and call it out and make fun of them at the same time.
Sure. Okay.
It's fucking good. I will end this podcast right now forever.
My time
it's
is
on
finite.
it's on my list of shows to get around to eventually, but I tend to not gravitate towards TV comedies at all.
Thank you, Chad. You guys are the new hosts of this podcast.
You are allowed to like Community. If you like Community, I have no opinion on Community because that is
got their job working on Winter Soldier based on the fucking paintball episodes of Community.
Excellent. Good for them.
Excellent.
I'm happy.
All I know about Community, and it is funny, is the meme of Chevy Chase saying, "I won Dungeons and Dragons."
Chevy Chase is the least funny part of the show, to be honest. And at a certain point, they realized it too and got rid of him because he was too much of an asshole to work with. But
yeah, there is that.
The only reason you can say this is because you are a black guy. Otherwise, I would consider this not okay in chat. I think that is a little bit of a racial trope there.
This just brings us full circle back to the beginning of the show and what you were calling your subscribers, Dane.
Yes. The colored ones. Troy and Abed in the morning. Yeah. Troy and Abed shooting lava.
See, you've got fans of this show in chat, Dane. It's fine. You don't need to feel attacked by us just being kind of neutral. It's okay. You're in a safe space.
Video game episode was good. Yeah, I mean the original D&D episode was excellent. The second one was pretty good. The alternate realities episode where the meme that everybody operates from, everybody's used it at least once, the darkest timeline, that comes from Community.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Where like there's a whole episode where they're trying to decide who's going to get up and go get the pizza from the door, and they're like sitting around or whatever, and nobody wants to get up, so they just roll some die, and it shows what happens in each timeline if each person who ends up going to get the pizza. And some very drastically different things play out, depending on who rolls the die, or who, loses the dice roll, I should say. And then there's the meme where I'm sure you've all seen it with Donald Glover standing there holding the pizza while everything's on fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's from that.
Yep. I knew that was from
gets the pizza and he comes back into the door and just everything has gone to complete shit in the 30 seconds he's been gone.
Yeah, I've also seen the meme of the white, I think it's a white lady saying, I can tolerate racism, but I won't abide
X.
That is like less bad than racism.
Mm-hmm.
Inspector Spacetime is fucking legit great.
They do a Doctor Who parody.
Oh yeah.
Well, now you've lost me completely.
It's Inspector Spacetime. One of the plot points is that they go to an Inspector Spacetime convention and they find out that there's a company's trying to make an American version.
Sure.
And they end up showing a clip from the American version, which is appropriately bastardized from the original thing. So
sure,
it's obviously done by people who like Doctor Who.
That's
they really gritted that Inspector Spacetime thing.
Well, now you have my attention. I love Doctor Who.
And
I will fight you, Morgan. You keep your mouth shut.
I will not.
No, tell me what to do. They won't talk to me. This is Chuds.
I have tried to watch Doctor Who many a time, and I will make it exactly 4 episodes and go, this is far too much up its own ass.
It's so British, man. It's so fucking British.
And like I don't mind British TV, but I just think that like it's so self-referential, but also self-referential to things that haven't happened on screen. That it's just like, stop telling me your character is cool.
Yeah.
Just do cool stuff in the show, and you won't have to tell me how cool they are all the fucking time.
Where have you tried
Quote's
starting?
not necessary, Sean. Quote's completely unnecessary because it was actually canceled twice. Before the first time it was canceled, they kicked out Dan Harmon and brought in the guys who did the Geico Cavemen show. And that's
those
the
were
season.
brilliant.
Eventually, they bring Dan Harmon back, and they refer to that season as the season of the gas leak because everybody was acting so out of character and shit.
Sure.
It's so fucking good. Look, the world's getting darker. I would honestly say that if I made a top 20 list of things you should watch to kind of like escape the darkness sometimes, I would put Community on there for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, probably should watch it.
Well,
as far as the
maybe
Doctor
I'll watch
Who,
it now.
As far as the Doctor Who, I tried to watch the reboot.
Yeah.
When they first rebooted with Christopher Eccleston.
Oh, okay.
I tried it with the old fuck. Like
Peter Capaldi? Yeah.
Yeah.
The old fuck.
The old fuck.
I'm tired. It's been a long week.
Yeah. I love how just unfucking inclusive you get just suddenly sometimes, Morgan. You're just like, that old fuck.
It's great. Well, okay. So part of the thing is
that
the
he
first
is an old fuck. That's his character.
That's his character, right? His character acts like an old fuck. It's not that he is old. My brother is also an old fuck, and he's younger than me. He just acts like an old fuck.
It's a spirit. It's a spiritual thing.
It's spiritual condition.
I mean, look, I'll be honest. My son just turned 10. He's kind of an old fuck.
See? Calling me
get off my
uninclusive.
lawn. Like he wants his bedtime routine is very fucking specific and stuff.
Exactly. That's my brother. That's Peter Capaldi's Doctors, the old fuck. And then I tried 2 of the movies they came out with on Disney Plus that were with the guy who was coming back having done it before.
Yeah.
But as the same but different him, and they were fine. They were very clearly written for people who watched him the first time.
Yes.
And
that's a fair criticism, obviously.
And then I watched the first one with the new guy, the first couple with the new guy. And I like him as an actor. He's a very good actor, and I like him in the show. The problem is everyone else.
Yeah, it is very much a show where you have to, if you haven't watched it from the beginning, the lore just keeps piling on. Because the new Doctor Who, the reboot, is way more serialized.
Yeah.
Than the older show was like collections of serials. There would be like a 4-part episode,
sure,
which was a standalone story, and then there would be like a 6-part episode, 6-part series, etc. But this one is like a lot of it is a continuous story from like 15 years ago or whenever it started. They're still bringing up shit that happened back then.
Right. Oh, also there was one episode I watched with my sister wherein he argues with a giant eyeball that's in a hole in reality and talks about how cool he is. And I'm like, that is a man arguing with an eyeball in reality. I
gotta get going because I gotta get some food and get my kids ready for school and everything. But here's
fuck son has to get ready for bed at bedtime.
If he doesn't get to bed on time, he's gonna be really grumpy.
Yeah.
He's such an old fuck.
He's such an old fuck.
Excuse me. I'm looking for Troy Barnes. Pierce Hawthorne sent me.
Dr. Charles, just report to PD.
Okay, but I'll call administration next time. Thank you.
Hey, Troy. Hi. I'm LeVar Burton.
Just got LeVar Burton here for Troy? Is there anyone he can't produce?
Now I'm really getting mad. Why am I the only one he decided to torture?
I told Pierce 1,000 times I never wanted to meet LeVar in person. I just wanted a picture. You can't disappoint a picture. I hate you, Pierce. I hate you so much.
at a school nearby? Well, are you more familiar with me from Star Trek or Reading Rainbow? Reading Rainbow was the show I hosted and produced for 25 years on PBS. Ever seen it?
Butterfly in
Okay,
the
this bit has played too long.
I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book. Reading Rainbow. Reading Rainbow. Set phasers to love me.
Troy, I am telling you, man, the salmon is really good.
Making the same face.
Would you mind passing me the pepper?
See, now for me, this joke is going on a little too long.
Yeah, it's too long. Yeah, like we are 30
So-
seconds past.
If they had stopped it
However,
with the bathroom scene, it would have been great.
It doesn't all happen in the same couple of minutes in the show. It's spread out, so it kind of keeps. going back.
Oh, okay. So this is a problem of the clip. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that it makes it better or worse for me, but I'm also not going to go
Better.
my way to
Stop being
watch it.
resistant, community, you losers. All right.
I'm happy to be a loser. I've been a loser all my life. I'm a proud loser.
Well, then be a community loser.
Okay.
I don't know. I got
You cannot shame me, Daniel.
Thank you, chat. Thank you. I love you, all you guys. I love you.
I'm glad you love chat. I'm glad chat is
I
there
don't
for
know
you.
how I didn't put a community question on the application to be a co-host.
No,
of
you did
this
not.
thing, but I overlooked that to my great dismay.
Take it up with HR. Unfortunately, I'm HR.
I'm kidding. I love these people. We have a good time.
We do.
And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed fapping with us tonight.
Bye-bye.
I will not, probably not. I guess there's a chance because I'm flying. I realize I'll be back Saturday or Sunday. I'll be back in time to do a fap. I just don't know that I'm going to feel like it at that point. We'll see.
Sure. We'll see.
But nonetheless, these guys might do one, maybe.
Bob and I might take over. We might, you know.
That said, I probably will not be on the Shillcast. I definitely won't be on the Shillcast on Wednesday. I might do a stream on maybe tomorrow or Tuesday just to be my last one for the week. Then I'll be out of town, out of sight, out of mind for a little while.
You won't be out of mind, Dane, and you definitely be out of our hearts.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I might be on the Shillcast on Wednesday. Depends how my schedule works out. But I might be available for it.
Wow, there you go.
Well, I mean, look, I'm going to be in a hotel for 4 days. I'm definitely going to fap. Okay. It's not going to be the same kind of. What else do you do in a hotel when you're stuck in there?
I read books.
Well, yeah, I'm going to read some porno books.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
no, I'm kidding. I don't have any porno books.
I was going to say, you use the internet. You're a person.
That's true. Brie Larson does make a couple.
Brie Larson.
Brie Larson.
I want everyone to know when it comes to the game of Morgan should watch this show, the more you tell me I should, the less likely I am to.
I also want to point out that there, I'll still hold on the show. I'll hold the show up for another few minutes in case anybody wants to.
I see this as an absolute win.
Send any super chats last minute here to help me out on my trip, on my journey. Give me a little extra walking around money.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I will read any super chats sent this way until the actual end of the stream. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and play a clip or something.
The outro.
What do you guys? You want to promote something?
I got nothing.
Bob?
I got nothing.
Bob, don't
Nope.
you have a channel and stuff?
You have a
I
channel?
do have
Bob?
a channel, but I know I'm going through a fallow period where I don't really feel motivated to make content. So there's not much going on over there.
Sure.
But if you are interested, you can go subscribe to Bob of the Old Ways.
There are some wonderful Lord of the Rings videos there that I recommend. If you have not seen them,
Yes.
you should go see them. They're
I
great.
just put a little bunch of stuff onto playlists, so all you have to do is push play, and you're good. No searching.
Playlists are great. Playlists are how I fall asliep. So
yeah.
Okay.
Your
Well,
voice is in my
here's
head.
a clip from a thing that I'm going to play. I've played it before, but it's worth playing again. Love you guys. Have a lovely week and everything. Praise Bill. Free
Bye.
Palestine.
Praise Bill. Free
Praise
Palestine.
Bill. Free
Deporting fucking
Palestine.
just piece of shit. All that.
Democracy depends on a free press. Please support our independent journalism at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
We're continuing our conversation with Mahdi Hassan, who is marking the first anniversary of his news site, Zeteo, which he formed after leaving MSNBC. Mahdi, you've closely covered the war in Gaza as well as the Trump administration. So if you could begin on Gaza.
On where we are right now? I mean, some of us tried to say that Donald Trump would make things even worse. There was a big debate during the election campaign where people understandably said, it can't get any worse. And the one thing you know about US politics is it can always get worse. And I think we've seen that with the Trump administration. He came in with this great fanfare. He had the fake ceasefire around the time of his inauguration. He got a bit of credit from some folks. We always knew it was never going to last. Netanyahu ended that ceasefire. They're now killing people at rates even worse in many ways in 2024. You guys began the show talking about 100 people killed in 24 hours. And the world is numb to that. You know, in October, November, December of 2023, it was a huge story. And today, people are shrugging their shoulders. We're talking about ethnic cleansing of Gaza, relocating the entire population. The Israeli government said this week that they will flatten everything that remains in Gaza. Netanyahu was quoted in cabinet saying that we don't want to die with the Palestinians. We want them to die alone, was Netanyahu's phrase to his own cabinet ministers. And of course, Donald Trump himself has signed off on all of this. We're now having a mass starvation campaign. During the Biden administration, it was bad enough saying, are we going to get 100 trucks in, 200 trucks in? 0 trucks have gone into Gaza since March the 2nd.
You talk about the personalizing Palestinians. In the United States, where the media manufactures consent, can you talk about the icing out of Palestinian voices? I mean, the fact that you're no longer at MSNBC, that you were forced out of MSNBC after this incredible confrontation you had, questioning you had, interview with an Israeli spokesperson, and your ongoing coverage of bringing those voices out.
So one thing I did at MSNBC, I was at MSNBC for 3.5 years, and one thing, some of my colleagues, we had Ayman Mohyeldin at the premiere of the film last night, who still has a show at MSNBC, although he shares it now with 3 other hosts. But one thing we did, and one thing Joy Reid, who's also left the network recently, had her show cancelled.
Forced out of the network.
And Ali Velshi, who's still at the network, thankfully, another great correspondent. Something that some of us did was to try and platform Palestinian voices. One of the problems we have, as you say, is they are iced out. Americans don't hear from Palestinians or Arabs or Muslims or people with actual expertise of the region or people who have spent time in Jenin, in the occupied West Bank, in Gaza. And that is a fundamental problem. You are getting a very one-sided view of the conflict. What's ironic, Amy, is the recent Pew poll that came out showed the American public is actually for the first time more sympathetic, less sympathetic to Israel, much more critical. I think it was 52%. I can't remember the exact number, but a majority of Americans were critical of Israel or are not supportive of Israel for the first time. And I looked at that number and I thought, wow, a majority of Americans, a slim majority, that's despite the media coverage in favor of Israel. Imagine if Americans actually got fair coverage of this conflict.
Is calling us to, and instead find something more painfully specific, doubtful, painfully specific, doubtful.
Actual fandom is not going to stop.
Those who love making monsters out of others, who create chaos and carnage as they coalesce power on their own personal journey of exalting themselves.
Fascism is coming to you. Fascism is coming to you.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy.
All the trappings and trimmings of a cleaned up, gussied up politician.
There's zero strategy.
Are you sure?
Full of dead men's bones and everything unclean.
You might as well give up.
GI Robot is detecting unease. Could he be, GI Robot asks, in fear of being discovered as Nazi scum?